Dear viewers, we have entered chapters 2211 to 2230, which tell the story of the complicated romance between the third and second generations of the Su family. Additionally, there's the issue of the dispute with the Japanese self-defense forces. Enjoy your stay.
At the same time, Eastcliff Su's family. Although Ruoli's disappearance made Chengfeng Su and Zynn Su worried, it did not affect Zhiyu Su and Zhifei's mood at all. The two of them didn't know Ruoli's true identity, they just regarded her as a servant in the family. In addition, Ruoli had always been Zynn's bodyguard and had little contact with other siblings, so the siblings naturally didn't care much about her affairs. Right now, the two brothers and sisters are in Zhiyu's study, each looking at the computer, looking at the monitoring screenshots compiled by the person under their hand. These screenshots are full of young male yellow faces. They were all Sus staff, and according to Zhiyu's request, they were intercepted from surveillance videos of major airports in Japan some time ago. What the siblings have to do is to constantly look through these screenshots, trying to find Charlie's figure. Unfortunately, there were too many surveillance videos at the time, and the number of passengers at several major airports in a few days exceeded several million. It is indeed not an easy task to find Charlie from these millions of people. The two had been checking the screenshots of these surveillance videos for several days, but they still couldn't find Charlie. The glamorous Zhiyu stayed in front of the computer day and night for several days. Her eyes were bloodshot, dry, and unbearable, but she continued to fight while dripping eye drops. Because Zhifei had promised her sister in advance that she would try her best to help her find her benefactor, so she didn't dare to slack off and kept looking around day and night. Seeing that the surveillance video screenshots of nearly 1 million people have been filtered, but Charlie's figure is still not found, Zhifei more or less retreats and said to Zhiyu with a tired face, "Zhiyu, it is really not easy to find this way. I don't know how long would that take." Zhiyu looked through the screenshots and said solemnly, "There are more than 3 million people who still need to be identified. Out of almost 1 million. It's a quarter of the completion. I believe that these 3 million people, after reading all of them, you will be able to find clues to your benefactor." Zhifei sighed and said, "Zhiyu, don't try too hard. Look at your eyes, they are red like a rabbit. Take a break and you can try later." Zhiyu said, "I'm not tired at all. If you are tired, you can rest for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Zhifei said embarrassingly, "Sister, don't call Zhiyu, change your name to the owl. If I continue to look for it, I will be blind." Zhiyu said angrily in her voice, "Then you don't need to find it, I will find it myself." Zhifei hurriedly explained, "I didn't mean that, I just want to rest for a while." As he said, he hurriedly got up, poured 2 cups of tea, handed Zhiyu a cup, and smiled, "Take a cup of tea and rest for a few minutes. There is also a break between classes. You can't work hard continuously." Zhiyu took a sip from his teacup and said, "These videos are dead and people are alive. If we don't find clues to benevolence as soon as possible, what if there is a new change in benevolence's trajectory? What if we finally find a clue and then follow the trail to find it, but the benefactor is no longer there?" Speaking of this, Zhiyu continued with a little tiredness, "The point is, the only one who has really met your benefactor is the two of us, so only the two of us can do this kind of identification work." Zhifei nodded helplessly, "You're right, let's hurry up and try to find the clue of that man as soon as possible." After that, Zhifei remembered something and said, "By the way, Zhiyu, I'm going to Oris Hill in 2 days. Would you like to come along?" Zhiyu asked, curiously, "What are you going to do in Oris Hill?" Zhifei said embarrassedly, "I've already discussed naming and cooperation with Sarah's concert. Her first concert of the year will be held in Oris Hill on the 2nd day of the lunar calendar. I didn't promise her before. Oris Hill Charity donated 10 million, so I also want to go there in advance. Not only will this 10 million be arranged in place, but also the major welfare homes, orphanages, and other charities in Oris Hill City will benefit as well. According to the actual needs of these institutions, another 20 million donations will be given to them." Having said that, Zhifei continued with a just and awe-inspiring look, "Since it is doing charity, of course, we must go." Zhiyu smiled unkindly and said, "Hee, it turned out to pursue Sarah. No wonder you are so active." Zhifei hurriedly denied, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm doing charity work. Besides, Sarah won't go there. I go by myself. How can you say that I am pursuing Sarah? Zhiyu curled her lips and said, "Oh, you are still being serious with me, I don't know you yet. You just want to make this thing a little more beautiful in advance, and let Sarah look at me by then. Promise to donate 10 million. As a result of donating 30 million, Sarah will definitely think that you are a person with a strong sense of social responsibility, and then have a better opinion of you, I guess, right?" Zhifei said embarrassingly. "You are the smartest, I can't hide anything from your insight, right?" Zhiyu nodded and smiled. "Just admit it." Zhifei sighed and said, "Zhiyu, the ancestors have something I don't know if you have heard of it." Zhiyu blurted out, "Sell less, speak straight." Zhifei said earnestly, "The ancestors said that if you see it through, you can't tell it. This is the highest state of a smart person." Zhiyu said disdainfully, "You don't need to reach the highest state to talk, the general state is enough." "You girl." Zhifei sneered angrily, and immediately changed the subject and asked, "Hey, I'll just ask you if you want to go. If you want to go, let's go together. It just happens that I'm not familiar with Oris Hill." Zhiyu shook her head. "No, I will not go anywhere until I find this person." Zhifei hurriedly persuaded, "Oh, Zhiyu, you can accompany me. This thing could be done from anywhere, any place. You can take your laptop out on the road, at the concert, at the airport, anywhere. You just don't need to camp in the bedroom for good." Zhiyu said uninterestedly, "Then I don't want to go either. You are going to lay the foundation for the pursuit of Sarah." "What am I going to do?" Zhifei asked her back. "You don't want to go out to get some air? How dignified the atmosphere is at home these past 2 days. Dad and Grandpa have been black all day long, and you still can't feel it. Take this opportunity to go out quietly for a few days. Is it okay?" Zhiyu hesitated for a moment, and then nodded gently. "That's what I said, then you can arrange it, just to go out and relax." In fact, even if Zhifei didn't say anything, Zhiyu, who was extremely intelligent, had already noticed the recent abnormality in the family atmosphere. In addition to the news from Japan, all the news airing about Ruoli. She knew that the Su family stabbed a big man in Japan for saving Ruoli. However, what she didn't quite understand was why Dad had to put so much effort into Ruoli. It stands to reason that Ruoli is nothing but a subordinate of the Su family. If something goes wrong, the Su family only needs to give her family a generous pension according to the agreement, and then it is enough to pay the relocation allowance monthly. There was no need at all. For the sake of a servant, she was taken out of the hands of the Japanese Metropolitan Police Department. How high the cost behind this is, you can figure it out with a little brainstorming, at least 100 times more than the pension and settlement allowance, which is not worthwhile at all. But Zhifei took the initiative to speak. "Zhiyu, Dad, and Grandpa made such a big movement in order to save Ruoli, what do you think they are doing?" Zhiyu shook her head. "I don't know this, but Dad and Grandpa must have their considerations." Zhifei said, "But I think about it, I always feel that this matter is not cost-effective, and Ruoli can't help the Su family make money. It is completely meaningless to invest such a large price to save her." Zhiyu shrugged her shoulders and said with a smile, "I can't figure it out, so I just don't think about it anymore." Zhifei thought for a while and said, "Do they want to use this to increase people's loyalty to the Su family?" Zhiyu shook her head and said, "More than 50 people were arrested together. Only one Ruoli was saved. The people must feel unbalanced in their hearts, and they don't know what to think." "Yes." Zhifei sighed and said, "I can't figure it out, I can't figure it out." Zhiyu said, "Okay, this is not something we should worry about. Let's hurry up and find your benefactor. The family is now in short supply of top masters. If we can find the benefactor and let the benefactor help the Su family, it will certainly alleviate the family's immediate urgency to a great extent." Zhifei nodded. "You are right. Benefactor's strength, I am afraid that 10 or 8 Ruoli will not be able to catch up. If he can stay in the Su family to work, it will definitely be a great achievement." Tokyo, Japan. Within 1 noon, the Metropolitan Police Department and the Homeland Security Department jointly captured all the maritime self-defense members who were patrolling near Tokyo Bay on the night of Ruoli's disappearance and separated them for individual surprise interrogations. Within the country, the department with the highest authority and priority is the Homeland Security Department. Because for a country, nothing is more important than homeland security. So when Homeland Security comes out to do something, everyone must stand aside. Just like America. The well-known functional departments in the United States are the FBI and CIA and NSA. FBI is the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is subordinate to the Judicial Department. Generally speaking, it is responsible for major domestic cases and cases that span multiple places, especially multiple states and counties. CIA is the Central Intelligence Agency, responsible for collecting all kinds of intelligence on foreign governments, companies, and terrorists. FBI and CIA are very common in film and television dramas, so they can basically be familiar all over the world, but not many people know about the NSA. NSA is the National Security Agency of the United States, the largest intelligence agency of the U.S. government, and the organization that employs the most computer experts, mathematics experts, and linguists in the world. Although they do not often appear in the public eye, their priority in doing things has no match. The same goes for the Japanese Homeland Security Department. If the Homeland Security Department arrests members of the Self-Defense Force for interrogation on the grounds of threatening national security, even the top commander of the Self-Defense Force has no right to stop or interrogate. And all the members of the self-defense forces are also very clear that once they get involved with the Homeland Security Department, there is no good thing to do, and they will have to be skinned if they survive. Therefore, people in the self-defense force have a natural fear of the Homeland Security Department. It is precisely because of the reputation of the Homeland Security Department that among these self-defense team members who were arrested for surprise interrogation, several people with insufficient psychological strength soon began to show their feet. Moreover, the people in the Homeland Security Department are almost all the elite of a country. This group of people is not only extremely capable but also has been performing various secret tasks. Even in peaceful times, the people in the Homeland Security Department are all battle-tested and best fighters. These self-defense force soldiers with little actual combat experience were as simple and weak as elementary school students in front of them. Therefore, the Department of Homeland Security seized the few self-defense team members who were not good enough to attack and quickly opened a breakthrough. A few hours later, the context of the entire incident has been sorted out by the Department of Homeland Security. What made Tomo Suzuki very excited was that Nanako was right. The self-defense forces did collude with the Su family from China during the transfer of Ruoli. Not only that, their cheapest operation was to deliberately fix the TMPD. When Ruoli was handed over to the police department for escort, dropped her, and transferred all the responsibilities to them. The video hall suffered a huge grievance. And their motives for uniting with foreign forces and substituting domestic key criminals turned out to want to let go, seek credit for themselves, and get the social attention. This irritated Tomo Suzuki. In his opinion, this act of the self-defense force is simply like a thief who burned his house and then put out the bare child who sought praise from the parents. After clarifying this matter, the Department of Homeland Security immediately convened the cabinet and held an emergency meeting with the cabinet to discuss countermeasures. The cabinet was also shocked by this incident. No one ever thought that there should be such stupid high-level collusion in the self-defense force, who did nothing for a little merit and recklessness, causing great losses to the country. As a result, the cabinet immediately worked with the Department of Homeland Security to formulate a set of solutions urgently. First, secretly arrest all SDF executives involved in this matter, and immediately make the case public, expounding in detail all the causes and consequences of the Su family's conspiracy with the SDF, as well as the fact that the Su family's rescue is fake and the act is unlawful. Second, the Su family must be required to deliver Ruoli to the TMPD within 24 hours, otherwise, all businesses of the Su family in Japan will be permanently blocked, and the Su family's immediate family members will always be restricted from entering the country. That night, the 3 SDF executives involved in the case were arrested in their respective homes. These 3 people were awarded the posts of self-defense forces and the Japanese government for successfully arresting Ruoli and others at Osaka airport. But now, these 3 people have all been reduced to prisoners endangering homeland security. At the same time, the TMPD and the National Security Department officially issued an announcement to the world. A tsunami directed at the Su family screamed at this moment. Late at night, Yanqing, Zynn returned to his home unconcealed. At this moment, his mood is very complicated and he is in a state of utter confusion. Just this evening, Ruoli's biological mother, Yingshou, came to the Su group to meet him. As soon as the two met, Yingshou anxiously asked him the whereabouts of Ruoli. However, Zynn didn't know how to answer. Because he didn't know where Ruoli went. She vanished as if the world had evaporated, leaving no clues. Yingshou, who was missing an arm, knelt down to Zynn crying, hoping that he could accept that Ruoli was his biological daughter, and did everything possible to find her whereabouts. Zynn agreed. Ruoli is his biological daughter. This is supported by the results of DNA. Moreover, Yingshou had a life-saving grace for him back then. The reason why Yingshou lost an arm is entirely to save him. Therefore, whether it is for the face of his own daughter or the face of the savior, Zynn cannot hide it but agree. However, his heart was blocked. Because he encountered such a thing for the first time. For the first time, there is no clue to that person's whereabouts. After that, the Su family's hands and eyes were open to the sky. In the past, as long as they wanted to check, there was no clue that they couldn't find it. But this time, the Su family was at loss. Therefore, Zynn was also very worried about Ruoli's current situation. What he was afraid of was not that he could not find Ruoli, he was afraid that Ruoli was probably no longer alive. Therefore, when he returned home, he always felt very heavy. Yes. The moment Zynn opened the bedroom door, a glamorous middle-aged woman walked out of the bathroom. This woman had just removed her makeup and took a shower. Her long hair was wrapped in a hair-drying cap. Although she had removed her makeup, her skin was still very smooth and clean. She looked like natural beauty and was a lady who was normally well maintained. This woman is Zinn's lifelong love, his wife, Leona Du. The Du family is very strong in Yanqing. Although it may be a bit worse than the Su family in terms of assets, it is actually not much worse in terms of background, status, contacts, and overall strength. On a special level, it was even stronger than the Su family. After all, money is not the only measure of strength in any place in the world. Leona was one of the most respected celebrities in Eastcliff. Her family background made her almost the dream lover of all the rich second generations of Eastcliff. Zynn is one of them. Leona has given birth to children and over 50 years old, but she still maintains the same charm as a young woman in their 30s. Seeing Zynn coming back, Leona said distressedly, "Why come back so late today? Are you tired?" Zynn grinned reluctantly and said, "It's okay, I'm not tired. There have been a lot of happenings in the past 2 days." Leona counted and nodded. Since she married Zynn, she has not cared about Zinn's work. Because she felt that she didn't need to interfere with men's affairs. Therefore, she never asked Zynn about the details of his work. Seeing that Zynn was very tired, she said, "Change your clothes first, I'll put some water for you, take a good bath, turn lights off when you go to bed, and you won't wake up at midnight." Zynn was moved in his heart and hurriedly said, "My wife, you don't need to worry about me, I can just do that myself." Leona said, "I just used the water in the bathtub. It will take a long time to warm the water. You should change your clothes and rest for a while." Zynn smiled and said, "It's okay, I'll just use your washed water to soak for a while." Leona said with some embarrassment, "How can that be? The soaped water is not clean, you wait, I will refill the tub." "No need." Zynn smiled, and went into the bathroom immediately, undressing, and said, "How can my wife's bathwater be dirty? Leave it, I'll go in for a while." Seeing that he took off his clothes, Leona reluctantly shook her head and said, "That's fine, soak for a while. If the water gets cold, I'll warm it again. I'm going to bed to read a book." Zynn hurriedly smiled and said, "Okay." Leona left the bathroom, closed the door behind, and then lay on the comfortable and luxurious bed. Then she took a book called Anna Karenina from the bedside. This is a literary masterpiece by the Russian writer Leo Tolstoy. It is about the tragedy of Anna Karenina's pursuit of love. Leona has read this book countless times, and she has memorized many passages verbatim, but she still picks it up and reads it every now and then. Sometimes, she felt that she was a bit like the heroine of this book to some extent. Although she was born a noble, although she was an elegant and charming elder lady in the eyes of others, she never got the love she really wanted. Her husband, like Anna's husband, is obsessed with his career. Although he loves her deeply, she feels a kind of boring frustration because of his excessive rigidity. She can only find comfort in life from her children. The subtle thing is that Anna met her true love in a lifeless married life. But he is quite the opposite. It was after encountering true love, but unable to get true love, that she joined hands with Zynn into the married life. Anna finally dies by committing suicide. Although Leona did not have any thoughts of suicide, since the day she married Zynn, she knew that the love in her life was dead. After flipping through a few pages casually, Leona couldn't help but imagine the figure of the man in her mind. For more than 20 years, the figure of that man has never left her thoughts. Almost every night, she fell asleep thinking of the man's figure. And that man is the love of her life, Changying Wade. Thinking of Changying, she involuntarily reached out and picked up her mobile phone. After the phone was unlocked, she opened the browser on the phone and entered a very complicated web address in the address bar. This URL is actually a web album. After logging into the account and password, she clicked to confirm and entered her private photo album. This private photo album was registered by Leona herself more than 10 years ago. She converted all the photos of herself and Changying, as well as all the photos of Changying she could find, into an electronic version and transferred them to this photo album. Only she knows the account number and password. As long as she has the opportunity, she will open this album every day for a while, and then silently exit and delete all access records. At this moment, she opened the photo album, and when the handsome face of Changying appeared on the screen of the phone, tears of Leona's 2 lines burst out involuntarily. She looked at Changying's photo, rubbed her face with fingertips, and whispered, "Changying, you have been away for so many years, why can't I forget you?" Leona really loves Changying. Unlike Charlie's mother, Changying and Charlie's mother met when they were studying abroad, and Leona really grew up with Changying's childhood sweethearts. Both are children of a large family in Eastcliff locality and had studied in the same school since childhood. They go to the best kindergarten, the best elementary school, the best junior high school, and the best high school in Eastcliff. Therefore, the faces of Leona and Changying from different periods can be found in several graduation photos. Changying excelled since he was a child, and Leona felt that he especially liked playing with her when he was in elementary school. When she arrived in junior high school, Leona realized that she fell in love with Changying. Since then, her thoughts on Changying have not changed, and she has never concealed her love for him. When Changying ran on the court, she will definitely cheer beside him. When Changying played the guitar and sang on the stage, she would definitely applaud from below. So, soon, the children of the big family in 49 cities, everyone knew that Leona liked Changying. Coincidentally, the Du family and the Wade family have been very close. The old man of the Du family and the old man of the Wade family were friends for a long. Back then, the 2 elderly people discovered that Leona liked Changying, almost overjoyed. The parents of the 2 families were all trying their best to bring the 2 together. Leona couldn't wait to marry Changying and become his wife. But Changying alone did not agree. He said that he had always regarded Leona as his own sister, so how could he have children with her? Elder Wade couldn't persuade him with his life and death, and slapped him on the face, calling him a bastard, which delayed Leona for so many years. Changying's face hadn't been swollen before he had gone abroad. Leona did not say a word, packed up her bags, and ran after him to the United States. Unexpectedly, Changying met Charlie's mother in the United States and became his true lover. However, Leona still did not give up. She persisted until the night before Changying's wedding. That night, she was still expecting a miracle to happen. Looking forward to Changying, being able to be part of his home, imagining to wake him up the next morning. However, Changying did not appear in the end. Later, Changying got married. He and his wife led the Wade family to accept the marriage. The elders praised them for being a couple of gods and immortals, but Leona washed away her pining with tears every night. She always felt that she was the woman who loved Changying the most in this world. Unfortunately, Changying didn't choose to be with her in the end. Back then, Changying chose his later wife without hesitation. Leona almost cried out all the tears. However, she wiped away her tears and continued to love Changying deeply, like White Swan, looking through the clear autumn water, waiting for him to change his mind. Unfortunately, Changying did not look back in the end. When Changying got married, she calmly accepted all this, and then equally calmly accepted Zynn's crazy pursuit for several years. When Changying passed away, she cried again. That time, she was even sent to the hospital overnight because of excessive depression. It's just that the Su family didn't tell anyone about it, not even Leona's family members. Zynn didn't say it because he was afraid and took it as a shame, his wife weeping for another man. He couldn't let people know that his wife, his beloved wife, was crying so badly that she almost died, crying at the death of another man. For a long time after that, Zynn had been taking care of her with all his heart. He didn't complain about Leona because he knew it was unnecessary. Since Changying was dead, Changying would no longer threaten the relationship between the two afterward, so why bother to blame Leona for this? However, what he didn't expect was that a few years ago, a satellite TV station in a southern province launched a program called, I'm a Singer. Leona, who has always liked music, kept in front of the TV every week. So he watched several episodes with Leona. In each episode, he will discuss with Leona who sings better and who adapts it well. The two watched them with gusto and enjoyed it well. Until one day, a female singer named Hua sang a cover of, I Can't Live Without You. When Leona heard the song, her emotions collapsed again, and she covered her face, crying to death in front of the TV. The lyrics of that song are still fresh in Zynn's memory. It goes like this. You melted me with open arms. You rubbed me with your fingertips. You instigated the situation to take me away. You made waves and abandoned me. We are too unfair. Love and hate are all controlled by you. But today, I cannot live without you. Whether you love me or not. Hua's voice is excellent. And when the song reaches the most emotional part, it is simply heartbreaking. At that time, Zynn saw Leona crying out of control and stretched out his hand to embrace her, but he never dreamed that Leona would not let him hold her. She cried and listened to the entire song, and then locked herself in the bedroom. Cried for more than an hour. Zynn was in an extremely bad mood at the time. Because he knew very well that the reason Leona cried like that while listening to the song was entirely because of Changying, who had been dead for more than 10 years. The lyrics of this song fit Leona's feelings for Changying too much. Leona's heart was melted by Changying, crushed by Changying, swept away by Changying, and abandoned by Changying. Leona's love is completely controlled by Changying alone. No matter whether he loved her or not, Leona can't do without him. Even if he physically and spatially leaves her, he never left her heart. At that moment, Zynn couldn't help but burst into tears. He didn't understand, what magic power does Changying have? When he was alive, he would let his wife die in love. After more than 10 years of death, he can still let his wife die in love. It was also at that moment that Zynn hated Changying more, hated him even more than when Changying was alive. He even wanted to scrape his grave and thwart him. For Leona, she had only loved one person in her life, and that person was Changying. As for Zynn, it was just a step she found for herself after Changying got married. At that time, everyone was amazed by Changying's wedding of the century, and at the same time expressed pity for Leona. The strong Leona did not want to be looked down upon, so she agreed to Zynn's pursuit. However, she didn't love Zynn from beginning to end. Although after she got married, she has always been a wife and a daughter, abide by the woman's way, and has never done anything that counts to transgression. But she still doesn't love Zynn. She didn't love him on the wedding day. Today, more than 20 years have after marriage, and she still doesn't love. It's not that Leona is cold and ruthless, but that if you don't love, it's not possible to pretend. At this time, looking at Changying's photos and thinking about that year, Leona unconsciously shed 2 more tears. She put on the Bluetooth headset and played the song, Can't Live Without You, again. Thinking of the song, she murmured in her heart, Changying, that has been truly unfair to 2 of us. I have loved you for nearly 40 years. Why were you reluctant to give me a chance from beginning to end? Quote, back then, if you gave me a chance, I would not be worse as I am today. Back then, if you gave me a chance, you wouldn't have died so young. The song just happened to be sung to the point of emotion. Leona thought of this, tears have already burst the bank, overflowing, uncontrollably. And at this moment, her mobile phone suddenly received multiple notifications in succession. The most striking one was, Japan's National Security Agency issued an announcement, the Su family's shocking scandal is out. As the eldest daughter-in-law of the Su family, Leona's first reaction after seeing this post was to quickly click to see what happened. Although she rarely talks about her husband and the Su family, she is also a member of the Su family. After all, and has heard many things about the family recently. Her son and daughter were kidnapped and almost got killed in Japan. This incident left her with lingering fears, but it also made her a little bit more concerned about the situation in Japan. She also knew about Ruoli's extermination of the Matsumoto family. Although she also felt that this matter was a bit too much, Zynn was very angry at the time. When giving this order, she was extremely determined and there was no room for negotiation. Afterward, Ruoli and a large group of Su family masters were all captured by the self-defense forces. Leona also knew that this incident had a great impact on the Su family, and even greatly weakened its overall strength. Zynn was unable to do anything every day, and Leona was in sight. However, she did not know Zynn's plan to rescue Ruoli. So, when she saw this post, she was also very curious. After clicking on it, she discovered that the announcement issued by the Japanese National Security Agency stated that after the Su family instructed and murdered dozens of the Matsumoto family's family, all of the Su family's men were captured by the self-defense forces stationed in Osaka. Ruoli also fell into their hands, but what she did not expect was that the Su family unexpectedly united with the high-rank officials of the self-defense force and picked Ruoli from the Metropolitan Police Department, which eventually led to her disappearance, and now Ruoli's whereabouts are unknown. In response, the Japanese Homeland Security Bureau made a solemn protest to the Su family, demanding that Ruoli must return to the TMPD as soon as possible. Otherwise the Su family will be blocked throughout Japan and will never be sanctioned. The ultimatum is for the next 24 hours. Seeing this, Leona was shocked, but she couldn't help being surprised. She said to herself, "Why do you invest so much cost and energy for Ruoli? And at the risk of offending the entire Japanese government and all Japanese citizens. This is not in line with her husband's style of doing business." Not only her husband but also father-in-law Chengfeng is not the one who can make this kind of decision. In an utter surprise, in a state of dumbfoundedness, she continued reading. The announcement also stated, actually, the Su family didn't really want to rescue Ruoli. They only regarded Ruoli as a bargaining chip for acting in the exchange of rights. On the one hand, they hoped that after they rescued Ruoli, they could sell her to the self-defense forces to claim credit. And at the same time, it was hoped that through this scene, Ruoli's mother's family could be appeased. After that, Ruoli's mother Yingshou's He family was one of China's 4 major martial arts families. Who wants to be actively involved with them? Leona was stunned when she read this. Ruoli is Yingshou's child. Why have I never heard of this? Leona naturally knew Yingshou. After that, Yingshou had always been Zynn's bodyguard before. Later, Yingshou was injured and amputated while rescuing Chengfeng, and then she left the Su family. But when did Yingshou gave birth to a daughter? And why did she send her daughter to Su's house to be Zynn's bodyguard? Moreover, why is Yingshou's daughter named Su? Leona looked back again. The next paragraph was the shocking scandal that really made her stunned. In this passage it is written in clear words, Ruoli is the illegitimate daughter of Zynn's derailment with Yingshou, and Yingshou concealed her life experience and sent the child to the Su family. When she saw this passage, Leona was almost thunderous. Although there is no actual evidence to support this passage, the woman's instinct continues to tell her that everything she read above is true. She never dreamed that her husband, who she thought loved and was loyal to her so much, would betray her. Moreover, he betrayed himself 20 years ago. Not only that, he actually has an illegitimate daughter outside. What's even more hateful is that in recent years, his illegitimate daughter has been living in and around Su's house as a bodyguard. This made her feel a total betrayal, and a kind of cold spread from head to toe. She desperately controlled the trembling hand and continued to look down. In the follow-up content, even the National Security Agency of Japan felt that the Su family was simply inferior. For profit, even the lives of their daughters and granddaughters can be sold. It is extremely vicious, snake-hearted. When Leona saw this, her scalp was numb. She saw the wedding photo of herself and Zynn on the wall, recalling her marriage life for so many years, feeling nauseous. But in an instant, she felt relieved again. So she got out of bed silently, took out a suitcase from the cloakroom, and put some clothes in it. silently packed her suitcase, and changed herself into the clothes. She went out. Leona did not hesitate to pull up the suitcase and was ready to go out. At this time, the bathroom door just opened. Zynn, who came out wrapped in a bath towel, suddenly saw Leona pulling her suitcase to go out, and asked in amazement, "My wife, where are you going so late?" Leona looked at him blankly and calmly said, "Zynn, let's get a divorce." Zynn was struck by lightning, and he blurted out nervously and asked, "What's wrong with my wife? Which one are you singing? What wrong did I do to you?" Leona looked directly into his eyes and asked faintly, "Zynn, for the sake of the husband and wife for so many years, I will ask your questions next. Please answer the truth and don't lie to me. Can you do that?" Although Zynn was a little guilty, he still resolutely said, "My wife, just ask, I must answer truthfully, okay?" Leona went straight to the topic. "Okay, then I ask you, is Ruoli the illegitimate daughter of you and Yingshou?" Zinn's whole heart suddenly shattered and collapsed. He never dreamed that Leona would ask such a question. It turned out to be the only guilty secret deep in his heart. He is suddenly panicked. He didn't know how to answer at this time. Deny. With Leona's character, since she asked, she must be very convinced of this matter. It is difficult for her to believe if he simply denies it, but it may disappoint her even more. If you cannot deny it, you can only admit it. However, once he admits it, she will take it seriously, and it has been more than 20 years since this incident. If you know that your significant other has been cheating for so long, and you have an illegitimate daughter, he's afraid she will be extremely angry. At that time, Leona will definitely turn away without hesitation. Just when Zinn's connection between mind and body completely cut off, and he didn't know what to do, Leona sighed and smiled slightly. "Okay, it's not difficult for you. Let's get a divorce. Let's get away from each other and relax." Zinn's whole body suddenly collapsed. He knelt on the ground with a puff, holding Leona's thighs in both hands, and choked nervously, "My wife, I was wrong. Wife. I was also confused at that time. I didn't expect Yingshou to have her after that. Please, forgive me this time, my wife. I can't lose you, my wife." Chapter 2221. Seeing Zynn kneeling on the ground and crying, Leona immediately stepped back subconsciously, freed his hands from her body, and said seriously, "Zynn, you understand my personality. When I promised to marry you, I made a deal with you. 3 gentlemen's covenants, do you remember?" Zinn's red eyes dropped down and his head nodded slightly. "Remember. I remember. I remember every word. Wife, I am really confused for a while. Please, forgive me this time, just this time." Leona said with a serious expression, "Zynn, I hope you first talk about what the 3 gentlemen's covenants are." Zinn's heart suddenly hurt, and he trembled. The first clause of the gentleman's covenant, no matter what time or situation, as long as. Leona asked, "Just what?" Zynn long sighed. "Hey. As long as Changying is willing to come back and accept you, I must divorce you unconditionally and never entangle with you." Leona nodded and asked him, "What about the second one?" Zynn said, "The second article, I must not prevent you from meeting Changying as a normal friend after marriage." Leona asked again, "What about the third one?" "The third," Zynn murmured, "the third is that you marry me not for love, but to have a stable family, so either of us needs to abide by morals. The bottom line is that I cannot be ambiguous with other opposite sex during the marriage relationship, or even have actual relationships. If I change my mind, I must inform the other party in advance and break up peacefully." Leona gave a hum and said calmly, "Since you remember it, there is no need for me to repeat it. I will go back to my mother's house today, and tomorrow morning the 2 of us will go through the divorce procedures. You will have to print a divorce agreement tonight. Both of our children are grown-ups, and there will be no custody issues involved. As for the property of this family, I don't want a penny, so let's just do it." After that, Leona turned and left. Zynn hurriedly knelt in front of her, grabbed her suitcase, cried, and said, "My wife, you don't know the specifics of what happened back then. Yingshou, she almost lost her arm back then to save me. I wanted to make up for her sacrifice, but she said she had a crush on me for many years and just wanted to leave without regret. I was also moved and impulsive at the time, so it happened with her once. I swear to heaven, I, Zynn, only betrayed you once, the only time. Please look at the face of our husband and wife for more than 20 years, please look at the face of our sons and daughters, forgive me this time. I beg you. Leona said seriously. Zynn, there are many ways to thank someone for repaying, why do you have to choose the one that betrays your marriage? Zynn cried and said, wife. I was confused for a while. Leona waved her hand. It doesn't matter whether you are confused or not, what matters is that you have made your choice. Now that you have made a choice, then dare to act. After that, Leona said very solemnly, if the two of us can simply divorce tomorrow, we would still be friends even if we are not husband and wife in the future, but if you don't want to break up peacefully, then I can only ask the court and file for divorce, and you know that the divorce case is going to be heard. You are also a person of good faith. There is no need to make things so ugly, right? Zynn looked at Leona, crying, and choked up and asked, my wife, what do you want me to do so that you can forgive me? As long as you tell me, I will do my best. Leona smiled slightly. Zynn, I'm sorry, I really can't forgive you. Zinn's mind was numb and body trembling, and he asked her, my wife, you and I have been married for more than 20 years, how could you be so unfeeling? Leona asked him, Zynn, do you know why I loved Changying so much? Zinn's face suddenly startled. He looked at Leona and asked in a hoarse voice, why? Leona laughed bitterly, and said in a painful voice, when Changying was about to get married, I also ran to confess to him as Yingshou confessed to you. I even thought about giving my body to him. I even had the same reason as Yingshou. I said to him at the time, Long Ying, I have loved you for so many years without any results. If you really don't love me and don't want to give me a result, then don't let me leave the last regret. I also said, Changying, for a woman, the most precious thing is her own chastity. The reason why this chastity is precious is that every woman wants to leave it to the man she loves the most, and I hope to leave my chastity to you. At this point, Leona's voice also choked up. She looked at Zynn and said in a crying voice, however, the biggest difference between Changying and you is that Changying refused, without hesitation at the time. Because he said, he absolutely can't ruin my future. For this alone, you will never be compared to him, there is no comparison. Zynn heard this and said nothing. He felt his face hot for a while, so hot that he couldn't even open his eyes. Leona sighed when she saw that he was not talking, and said, Zynn, a couple if they can't get together they will never be happy. Zynn couldn't help crying. He wanted to say a few more words, admitting his mistake and asking for forgiveness, and then think of a way to beg and retain Leona. However, when Leona said just now that she had begged Changying just like Yingshou begged to him, but Changying refused her, he really had no face to excuse himself. And he also knows very well that it is useless to excuse, since Leona has decided, she will definitely not look back. Just as he didn't know what to do, a hurried knock on the door came, and the butler said angrily outside the door, Master, the old master asked you to come right away, saying that there are more important things to take care of, so you must come ASAP. Zynn was a little horrified. He had been taking a shower, and his wife would divorce him after the shower, so he didn't know that the Su family had been pushed to the forefront of the storm because of the announcement of the Japanese National Security Agency. He actually doesn't want to go anywhere now. He just wants to do his best to keep his wife from leaving. However, his father's majesty is not something he can disobey, and his father has asked the housekeeper to call him urgent, there must be something. It's the father who will definitely be angry. Thinking of this, he could only shout to the housekeeper through the door, okay, leave, I'll get dressed and come over. Okay. After the steward left, Zynn looked at Leona and pleaded, Wife, when I come back, can we have a chat? Leona shook her head and said, there is nothing to talk between us anymore, you should go to the old man now. After that, she took advantage of Zynn's occupied and fuzzy mind, pulled up the suitcase, and pushed the door, and walked out. Seeing Leona's resolute in her leaving without looking back, Zynn was so painful that he almost suffocated. He had known for a long time that Leona did not actually love him. He had already known that the person Leona had always loved was actually Changying. Moreover, Leona sometimes underestimated Zynn's skill. Although he never interfered with Leona's privacy on the surface, in fact, he knew everything about Leona's behavior secretly. Many years ago, after the mobile phone started to have the Wi-Fi networking function, Zynn allowed top internet hackers to Closely monitor his Wi-Fi network. Leona's mobile phone, when connected to the Wi-Fi, which software and which websites she visited after connecting to the Wi-Fi, he can use the tools provided by the hacker to carry out comprehensive monitoring. Therefore, he also knows that Leona has quietly visited the web album website almost every day when he is not around for so many years. In order to know what secret she was hiding in the web album, he even asked his subordinates to use a company shell outside to directly acquire the operating company of the web album. Acquiring this company would naturally control all user data on the company servers. Including what the user uploaded and browsed here, he can see clearly in the database. Therefore, he already knew that Leona would go to that online photo album every day to see some photos of her with Changying or Changying's solo photos. This has always been huge torture for Zynn. He couldn't accept the beloved wife around him was always thinking about other men. Even if that man is already dead. How could it be that if he worked so hard to please and impress her, it was not important to her, yet she valued a dead person more? Because of this, he has always hated Changying. Even if Changying had passed away many years ago, he still hated him to the extreme, and he hasn't weakened in the slightest for so many years. However, Zynn has always used the words, "she's mine," to hypnotize himself. He thought, what if Leona loves Changying deeply? Hasn't she married him now? Didn't she give birth to his 2 children? So, in the final analysis, he is Leona's man and her only man, which is already an absolute victory. However, now Leona resolutely left him and instantly destroyed his "she's mine" mentality without leaving any residue. Although the hatred in his heart was overwhelming at this time, when he thought that the old man still had important things waiting for him to pass, he could only temporarily calm his mind, wiped his tears, pounced his face with cold water, and wrapped his pajamas. Hurry to the old man's study. Chengfeng's study room is larger than the living room of an ordinary villa. To put it bluntly, this is Chengfeng's chamber. Like the imperial library of the ancient emperor, Chengfeng not only reads books here, cultivates his body, but also regards it as the core brain of the entire Su family. He often discusses important matters of the Su family with his sons and core members in the study. Many decisions that affect the Su family and even the business community of the whole country originate from this room. Right now, Grandpa Su had summoned all the second-generation descendants of the entire Su family. In addition to Zynn, there are Xiao Su, Shorin Su, Shui Su, Sholi, Shuji Su, and Shaksan Su. Chengfeng has 5 sons and 2 daughters, which represent the 5 characteristics of virtue: ren, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, and belief. Because of entanglement with Leona, Zynn came last. As soon as he came in, he found that in the entire study, his father and 6 younger siblings were all flustered. This made him feel a little bit uncomfortable in his heart. In his impression, his father had been calm and composed for many years. It was always the case that the temperament of any sort collapsed before his appearance. How could he panic like this today? Moreover, he also found that the eyes of the younger brothers and sisters around him looked very strange at this time. Their eyes are nervous, fearful, sympathetic, and even compassionate. So he asked nervously, "Dad, what happened?" Chengfeng raised his head to look at him, and asked with some guilty conscience, "Did you not see the news feed?" Zynn looked down at his pajamas and said embarrassingly, "What notifications?" "I was taking a shower just now. After washing, the housekeeper said that you were looking for me, so I hurried over and didn't even get my phone." Chengfeng sighed with a complicated expression, and said, "Zynn, there are some things, you have to understand me more. I sit in this position, I really want to take the overall situation into account, not too concerned about the love of my children." Zynn was a little surprised. He didn't quite understand why the old man suddenly said such a thing. Moreover, the old man's tone seemed a bit of admitting his mistake and begging for forgiveness. You know, the old man has always treated his children and grandchildren extremely harshly. At the family meeting, Ziyuan, Shaksan's son, was satisfied with his father's dozens of slaps and almost fainted because he talked nonsense in front of the old man and made him unhappy. This shows that it is impossible for the old man to admit his mistakes to his grandchildren. But today, why did he say this? Chengfeng, the elder of the Su family, did not admit his fault to his children and grandchildren in his life. He has always been extremely strong and has the style of an ancient emperor. In the eyes of ancient emperors, the appearance and his own power were the most important, and his children would never be the first. It was the same in his eyes. The foundation of the Su family and his unshakable position as the head of the patriarch was the most important things in his eyes. In front of these, what do children and grandchildren count? However, this time, he never dreamed that the National Security Agency of Japan would actually find out his affairs with the top self-defense forces. They even found out that Ruoli's true identity was Zynn's illegitimate daughter and his own granddaughter. Now, people across the country know that Chengfeng is a tortoise be it starred who can sacrifice the lives of his grandchildren for his own benefit at any time. These children in front of me don't know how to think of themselves. After that, if any father or grandfather does such a thing, his children and grandchildren will be very disappointed, and even stay away from him. Therefore, Mr. Su knew very well in his heart, this incident must have caused me to be cast aside by the world, and the Su family has suffered heavy losses in all aspects. If I don't deal with the internal influence of the family properly, my patriarchy will probably be immediately challenged and I will lose all prestige. Even the Su family may be overwhelmed. At the moment, it is the most critical moment for the Su family. Therefore, I must try my best to calm Zynn's mentality first, otherwise, in case he knows that I betrayed his biological daughter, and he cannot be on any level. If he understands and tolerates me a little bit more, then he is likely to take the lead against me in anger. If that happens, family trouble will be too great. As long as I can hold him steady, everyone else can hold it. Zynn at this time hadn't figured out what major incident had happened. So he looked at Old Man Su and asked, "Dad, what's the matter?" Elder Su sighed lightly and said grimly, "Hey, it's Ruoli." Zynn hurriedly asked, "Have you found Ruoli's whereabouts?" Elder Su shook his head. "Not yet, keep the faith. About Ruoli, Dad must apologize to you. I hope you can forgive Dad." Zynn did not expect that the old man would apologize to him, and hurriedly said, "Dad, what are you doing? Just tell me if you have anything to do. If you leave this thing, even if it fails in the end, I will not blame it on you." Zynn also felt that the old man did not spare any effort to save Ruoli. However, this matter itself is indeed very difficult, and the incident occurred in Japan, and it is beyond the reach of Su family. If there is an accident in the rescue process that causes the rescue to fail or even Ruoli's unfortunate death, it is indeed possible. Understandable. At this time, the old man Su sighed, "Hey, I am always confused about this matter. Rescue if Ruoli has committed a felony in Japan, it is fundamentally difficult. It is not a problem that money can solve." As he said, his eyes were a little red, and he choked with shame. "Zynn, I know it is difficult to save Ruoli, so we reached a secret agreement with the top of the self-defense force." Zynn was startled, and blurted out, "Agreement? What agreement? How did you reach an agreement with the self-defense forces?" Ruoli and the other 50-plus masters were all caught by the self-defense force. Mr. Su lamented, "Hey, our deals are also based on the principle of maximizing profits, so I wanted to play a play with the self-defense forces. On the one hand, the self-defense forces can make outstanding achievements in front of Japanese society and let us establish a relationship with the self-defense forces. A good cooperative relationship, on the other hand, can also stabilize the Su family. After that, everything is for the benefit of the Su family." Zynn was stunned. "Dad, what do you mean by this? Did you just make a scene when you said you wanted to save Ruoli?" Elder Su said with great pain, "I also have constraints." Zynn tried his best to control his emotions and said, "You have been talking about news feeds before, what kind of news feeds are they?" Elder Su gave his second child Shout a wink. Shout immediately handed the phone to Zynn and said, "Brother, first read this article." Zynn took the phone and read carefully every word. After he finished reading this article, Zynn almost went away. "This old guy used my biological daughter as a bargaining chip to please the self-defense forces. Is this man still half human? No wonder, Leona knew about Ruoli. No wonder she suddenly wanted to divorce me. It turns out that all this was dug up by the Japanese National Security Agency." Thinking of the fact that his wife Leona resolutely ran away from home and divorced him because of Ruoli's matter just now, combined with this thunderbolt news, Zynn's mind was a little untenable. He glared at Old Man Su, and angrily rebuked, "If Ruoli is your granddaughter, how can you do this? Do you know, because of what you did, Leona and I are divorced. Why are you doing this? Why? Elder Su said earnestly, Zynn. Even if I didn't do this, we won't be able to save Ruoli. Zynn gritted his teeth and asked, it's impossible to save Ruoli, so do you have to take Ruoli out to act? Did you have to use Ruoli out to please the self-defense forces? Seeing that Zynn's attitude was very bad, Old Man Su couldn't help frowning slightly, and said in a cold tone, I said, I did this for the benefit of the Su family. Zynn couldn't control his anger, and sternly shouted, the interests of the Su family. Is it okay to sacrifice my daughter's life for the interests of the Su family? Elder Su said coldly, don't forget, she is just an illegitimate daughter with a shameless identity. Zynn angrily said, what about the illegitimate daughter? The illegitimate daughter is also my daughter, Zynn's daughter. Father Su was equally angry and asked him, what? Are you questioning my decision? Are you going to settle accounts with me? Zynn gritted his teeth and said, because of you, my biological daughter is missing, and my wife is going to divorce me. Elder Su said coldly, don't think that I hurt Ruoli, you're the one who really hurt her. If you didn't let her destroy the Matsumoto family, how could the Japanese government hate her to the bone? Your biological daughter became the #1 felon in Japan because of your orders. With all the crimes you made her commit, according to Japanese law, she must not escape her death. So you have to remember, you are the cause. You are the cause, not me. Zynn heard this, his whole expression was like lightning strikes, and in an instant, he became extremely ashamed. Mr. Su was right. If he hadn't had to destroy the Matsumoto family at that time, Ruoli would never end up like that. Therefore, when he heard this, the anger in his heart instantly faded away because of shame and self-blame. Seeing the prospect of a comeback, Mr. Su immediately pursued the victory, and said sharply, so, even if I didn't do this, Ruoli will never survive. How can you say that I killed her? Even if she didn't survive in the end, mainly the person responsible is also you, not me. On the contrary, it was precisely because I made such a show that Ruoli had a chance to survive. You know, her whereabouts are unknown now. This proves that she is neither in the hands of the Japanese Metropolitan Police Department nor the self-defense forces. Maybe she can really find a chance to survive. Zynn was extremely depressed. He also knew that for Ruoli's crimes, in the Japanese judicial system, there is bound to be the only possibility of the death penalty. The father is right. If Ruoli really died, most of the responsibility lies with him. At this time, the old man Su continued coldly, as for Leona, if she wants to divorce you, please divorce. Unlike us, the Du family is in a high position and pays great attention to the face. The fact that you have an illegitimate daughter is exposed. Even if Leona does not divorce you, the Du family will definitely force her to follow suit for the sake of face. You are left with no option. Anyway, the Du family's historical mission to the Su family has been completed, and we won't have any needs for them in the future. Divorce is not a bad thing. Zynn said desperately, but my feelings for Leona come from the bottom of my heart. I know. Old Su snorted coldly, and said, do you know why I'm most dissatisfied with you? Zynn shook his head blankly. Elder Su sternly reprimanded, the thing I am most dissatisfied with is that you are too humble when facing Leona. The dignified Su family man, how can you be so humble to a woman? Faced with his father's reprimand, Zynn said with an expression of pain, Dad, isn't that the way things are like? Because of feelings. One party is always more involved than the other, and Leona has been steadfast in the years she has been with me. In comparison, I have let her down. Chengfeng waved his hand with a somewhat impatient expression, and said, Leona, don't talk about her anymore. Now is not the time to discuss the love of your children. The most important thing now is how to deal with our next affairs, the big trouble. Yes, big brother. The second child, Xiao, said with a sad face, we are really stabbing the hornet's nest now. The whole of Japan is angry about the Su family, and the domestic people also think that we are ruthless and unjust, and the internet is all against us. Remarks, as soon as the stock market opens tomorrow, the stock prices of our listed companies will definitely plummet, and then our losses will be incalculable. The third child Shorin blurted out, also, now even our own people will probably be chilled by Ruoli's affairs. The children don't know if they have heard of this. If they do, I'm afraid they will think more in their hearts. Chengfeng said with a black face, "Go back and make it clear with your children. The reason why I want to use Ruoli to cooperate with the self-defense forces is that, on the one hand, Ruoli is not a dignified blood relative but the result of a shameless private affair. Having a daughter, on the other hand, is also because Ruoli herself is bound to die, so let your children not think about it. Don't discuss this matter within the family. Offenders will be sent directly to South America to stay for 3 years." When everyone heard this, their expressions were stunned. The old man must feel that this incident is very embarrassing. As the traitor behind him, once the incident is exposed, he must feel unable to look up. As a result, everyone tacitly remained silent, no one spoke or even nodded. This is where the Su family's sons are smart. They all know that the old man pays great attention to his own face and majesty, so once he feels that this incident is a scandal he does not want others to mention it again, then he simply doesn't even answer the right things and treat it as nothing. Seeing that everyone was silent, Mr. Su's face eased a little, and he said, "I'm planning a few things now, and you will listen to me." Everyone stepped forward and respectfully said, "Dad, say it." Elder Su said in a cold voice, "First, from now on, contact all the media that we can contact and pay a big price for them to delete the report. Second, contact all social media, platforms, and apps, and ask them to delete the Sus incident from all the hot search lists and delete negative content. Thirdly, let the Navy dispatch the rumors, claiming that this incident is all a competitor's fiction, and Ruoli is not a descendant of the Su family at all. Anyone who dares to spread rumors on the internet or other media platforms must bear corresponding legal responsibilities." Quote. Everyone nodded. Elder Su sighed. With the current situation, our Su family can only conduct PR stunts. As long as PR stunts are done well, it's not impossible to turn against the wind. Of course, the headwind can only come back to the domestic public opinion. The Japanese people and the government now hate the Su family. No matter how the Su family is washed clean, it is impossible to wash it in Japan. You will definitely not want to make money from the Japanese in the future. And in the future, Japan will definitely report to the revivalists in all aspects. Zynn forced himself to temporarily put Leona and Ruoli's affairs behind him, and asked, "Dad, do you have any estimate of how much loss this incident will bring us?" Chengfeng sighed. For the time being, it's not good to say that Japan is the largest market in all of Asia besides our Chinese homeland. This alone will cause incalculable losses now and in the future. Moreover, Japanese companies have been deployed overseas for many years, and they have had a great impact. Whether it is the US or European markets, they are deeply involved. If they really want to attack Sus home overseas, all our future overseas expansion will be greatly affected. The second child Shout asked, "Dad, can't we remedy the relationship with the Japanese government?" Remedy. Chengfeng smiled bitterly. How to remedy it? If we can find Ruoli and then return her to the Japanese Judicial Department, we can more or less recover it, but now that Ruoli's whereabouts are unknown, what can we do? Shout hurriedly said, "Then find a way to find Ruoli. At that time, hand Ruoli to the Japanese Judicial Department, attach a sincere and open letter of apology, and if possible, compensate for this. There should be a way." Chengfeng waved his hand. "Even if we lose money, we have nowhere to do it. The Matsumoto family has been wiped out. Even if we want to compensate their relatives with a sum of money, we must be able to find relatives. Then it will be even more touching. It hurts the nerves of the Japanese people." When everyone heard this, they all agreed. This matter is indeed different from ordinary criminal cases. In ordinary criminal cases, as long as the family of the deceased is actively compensated and is allowed to voluntarily issue a letter of understanding, a certain degree of lenient treatment can be obtained from the law and public opinion. However, Ruoli left the entire family of the Matsumoto family dead, and even the son of Matsumoto Ryoto who had changed his surname with his ex-wife wasn't spared. The Matsumoto family was dead, so how could any relatives come? Therefore, even if the Su family wanted compensation, no one could be compensated. Shout said with an anguished look, "In this case, let's prepare with both hands. On the one hand, we should quickly do PR stunts, on the other hand, we should quickly find Ruoli's whereabouts." After that, he looked at Zynn with regret and said seriously, "Big brother. Don't blame the younger brother for saying this, you said that this whole thing was done by you, if you mess with Shoying, there won't be such a tricky illegitimate girl like Ruoli. Zynn saw that his second child suddenly attacked him, frowned, and said coldly, Xiao, it happened 20 years ago. You still take it out and make a fuss in front of your father and other younger siblings, what is it? Xiao didn't expect that his eldest brother was so sharp. He could see his thoughts all at once, and in the presence of his father and younger siblings, he first gave himself a moral kidnapping. He himself wanted to make use of the topic in front of the old man, and transfer the responsibility for this matter to Zynn. In this way, it is equivalent to helping dad transfer the responsibility, and he also splashed the eldest brother in front of dad. A pot of dirty water. However, Zynn's mind was really fast, and he poured the dirty water back all at once. So he immediately said again, Big brother is right, Ruoli is in her early 20s, and it doesn't make much sense to talk about it, but let's just talk about the present. Just say that Zhifei and Zhiyu were kidnapped the other day, as long as you calmed down a little bit, didn't get angry, and let Ruoli leave spare the Matsumoto family, this matter would not be where it is today. In the final analysis, it is still your trouble. Xiao had prepared a set of combo punches. His plan was to first attack Zynn with the first punch, unable to control his lower body, mess around, and cause subsequent troubles. Following the second punch, he attacked Zynn for being too cruel. He had to destroy the crowd, and the result was such a disaster. This first punch slammed into the air, but the second punch hit Zynn's face firmly. Several other children of the Su family, upon hearing this, immediately showed their approval. After that, these things in Japan have nothing to do with them, and now they are also implicated, and they are all caused by Zynn alone. Zynn's expression suddenly became very ugly. The order to destroy Matsumoto's family was indeed given to Ruoli. However, there is one thing he dare not say. At that time, the old man had instructed himself, and his intention at the time was to punish the murderer severely. Had it not been for the old man to set the tone, he might not have dared to give Ruoli the order to kill that family. But Zynn couldn't say this, nor did he dare to say it. He also knew that as far as the matter of destroying the Matsumoto family was concerned, on the one hand, it was indeed ordered from him, on the other hand, he was indeed impulsive at the time. At the time of the incident, Zynn learned that the kidnapping of his children turned out to be Mrs. Matsumoto, and Mrs. Matsumoto making that almost killed Zhiyu and Zhifei. Zynn felt angry and unbearable. Matsumoto wanted to kill his sons and daughters, which in his opinion was an act of rebellion. If you just killed Mr. Matsumoto, you wouldn't be able to express the bad breath in your heart. Moreover, Matsumoto's methods at the time were indeed very sinister and vicious. If he only killed him, the other members of the Matsumoto clan would definitely avenge him, and would definitely use more sinister tricks against him. Therefore, he decided to let Ruoli lead the Su family master to destroy the Matsumoto family. However, who knew that after Ruoli killed the Matsumoto family, she could not escape. If she had escaped, there would be no evidence of this matter. Even if the whole of Japan thinks that the Matsumoto family was the one who destroyed the family, it doesn't matter. There is no evidence. What the hell would they say? However, the bad dishes are there. Ruoli and other Su family masters were directly made dumplings by the self-defense force when they fled from Japan. This immediately pushed the whole thing into an abyss that Zynn could not control. Now, Xiao attacked him with this incident, and he didn't know how to respond. Seeing that his elder brother Li lost no more words, Xiao immediately realized that he had hit the 7 inches of his eldest brother, so he hurriedly pursued the victory and said, Big brother, we also expect you to lead us and lead the entire Su family to create new brilliance in the future, but if you can't control your own temperament and character, the Su family is afraid that it will suffer a big loss in your hands in the future. Don't blame me for speaking straight as a brother. I also want our Su family to be better in the future. As the future leader of the Su family, you must be able to hear different voices, so that our younger brothers and sisters also can better assist you, right? When Xiao's words came out, Zynn's face turned green. He is a wise man, so he knows exactly how much murderous intent is contained in these seemingly heartwarming words. He gritted his teeth in his heart secretly, Shout. UFC King Filth found the right chance to cause me more trouble. Although I am also responsible for the whole thing, it is not me who has brought the Su family to this gloomy situation now, it is the old man. But, shout, this be it starred in front of everyone, throws all the pot to me, he is forcing me to carry this pot. If I speak more, then I will become the sinner of all this. But if I don't want to say it, the old man doesn't know what to think, he will definitely hate me very much. Furthermore, the be it starred shout repeatedly mentioned in front of the old man that I was the future helm of the Su family and said that he would better assist me. Isn't this damn murder? The old man is still alive. And the old man is still firmly in control of the entire Su family. Shout repeatedly said in front of him that I am the helm of the future, he is trying to make the old man hate me. Since ancient times, the long-lived emperor has always been on the prince's guard. Because in his opinion, the prince is always coveting his throne and his power, so the prince must always be looking forward to his death. Deep down in my old man's heart, he must have the same guard against me too. Now being mentioned by Shout, the old man's guard against me will definitely become stronger. Not only that, Shout's act like this is tantamount to helping the old man secretly escape. Originally, the old man was the be it starred who used the life of his granddaughter to exchange benefits regardless of blood relationship. But, being bitten by Shout so violently, the responsibility came to me. The old man must be very satisfied with Shout's operation. This is damned. Sure enough, as Zynn expected. After Shout said this, old Su's face immediately looked much better. He thought to himself, such a big pot always has to be carried by someone. As the saying goes, a dead friend is not a resource lost. Since Shout has simply dumped the pot to Zynn, he's happy too. So he said coldly, Zynn, what do you think of what Shout has said? Zinn's desire to commit murder is gone. What do I think? What the FCK can I say? My actual opinion is that Shout is totally bull dollar hit. But can I say that? Can IFC King say it? If IFC King say that Shout is bullsh. Ting, doesn't it mean that I still want to throw the pot on you old man again? With your old man's temperament, can I have a good life in the future? Thinking of this, Zynn sighed in his heart, hey. Say 1,000 things, and in the end, you have to smash your teeth and swallow them. So he said with a look of Ashemedness, Dad, I accept what Shout said. This is indeed my fault. I did not do it right. Don't worry. I will take this as a lesson and actively correct it in the future. Chengfeng suddenly felt that the breath blocked in his chest disappeared in an instant. Sure enough, people don't want to go back to their backs. People who are close to each other will shake the pot. It's like a child is sick. The husband complains that his wife didn't take good care of him. The wife complained that the old lady didn't care about it. The wife complained about the time wasted by putting on makeup and changing clothes, and the wife complained that the old public car was too slow to grind. Anyway, as long as you can give it to others, even if it is for your son, it is a great thing to celebrate. So, he nodded gently and said in a serious tone, as the son of Su's family, you are too impulsive to do things. You should really polish the edges and corners of your mind and soul. As he said, he cleared his throat and continued, ahem, let's do it. From now on, until this matter is completely resolved, you should stop appearing in the public and go quietly to Australia for a while. Let's wait until the limelight passes and the things get calm.